Thank you for all participant attending this session on the Sustain Palm program. We are a bit delayed, so I would like to start the session by giving an opening speech representing the consortium of Sustain Palm. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and good afternoon, distinguished colleagues, esteemed guests, and dear friends. I am Iskandar, currently serve as Vice Rector IPB University, as well as member of the Executive Board of the Sustain Palm. And today, Evan, we would like to see in the minutes about the Sustain Palm program, result and follow-up. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sustain Palm program has been a meaningful journey, one that reflects our shared commitment to advancing sustainable palm oil system in Indonesia. Over the past year, this program has brought together experts from multiple disciplines to address complex challenges in the palm oil sector, from productivity and residue management to biodiversity and carbon balance. Palm oil continues to play a vital role in Indonesia's economic and livelihoods. Yet, as we are all aware, the sector faces increasing scrutiny regarding its environmental and social footprints. The Sustain Palm programs was designed to help us move beyond this dichotomy to demonstrate that productivity, sustainability, and inclusivity can in fact reinforce each other when guided by science, collaboration, and innovation. Today, we are not only presenting the result achieved, but also reflecting critically on what we have learned and where we must go next. Our agenda will guide us through three important work package. Work package 1, focusing on increasing yield and integrating crops with livestock system. Work package 2 on sustainable residue use, and work package 3 highlighting carbon and biodiversity rich landscape. Without further ado, we would like to start our presentation by inviting Professor Surya Tarigan, representing Work Package 1. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I am Surya Tarigan from IPB. The title of my presentation is Oil Palm Intercropping for a Resilient Future. Next. Next. Sustain Palm consists of 3 work packages. All work packages or their interactions should contribute to 2 indicators, as it is visible on the diagram, namely increasing income and land saving. Land saving can further save biodiversity and reduce greenhouse gas emission. Intercropping in oil palm, which I'm presenting now, is part of work package 1. The other part of work package 1, which is livestock integration, will be presented by my colleague, Prof. Ika, right after this presentation. Next. There are some considerations needed to be made when implementing intercropping in oil palm. The first consideration is which oil palm plantation will grow it, private company or smallholders plantation. When intercropping in smallholder oil palm plantation, we need to consider the purpose of intercropping. Most purpose in smallholder intercropping is for food, for example, rice or corn, or for income, such as banana or watermelon or coffee. When the purpose is for income, the selected crops for intercropping need a market perspective. When intercropping in private company plantation, the main purpose of intercropping usually is not for food or income, but can be for fulfillment of partnership or kemitraan, which has recently become an obligation for every private company of oil palm plantation. Next. Work Package 1 implemented intercropping and related business model in 3 locations: North Bengkulu, Central Kalimantan, and South Kalimantan. Next. In Living Lab Bengkulu, watermelon and banana were used for intercropping in private company oil palm plantation. The intercropping is at a commercial scale, use closed loop ecosystem as a business model, able to generate high income for participating farmers. In Living Lab Central Kalimantan, coffee and banana were used for intercropping in a smallholder oil palm plantation. The coffee and banana were further processed for more added value, like banana chip, etc. In Living Lab South Kalimantan, koro bean was used for intercropping. Koro bean is a legume crop, can be used as a cattle feed or protein source, and also function as a green fertilizer for nitrogen sources, which is important for oil palm plantation. Next. Among those 3 Living Lab in Work Package 1, the Living Lab in Bengkulu with watermelon and banana crop has been considered as a very successful model for commercial intercropping in oil palm plantation, involving a startup company, Arconesia, as a facilitator. Arconesia used closed loop system by developing secure connection to financing partners, agri-input company, and also to the off-takers. Next. How much is the financial return of the intercropping in oil palm? As an example, the table here compare financial benefit of the 3 crops in our Living Labs. It shows that watermelon has the highest income, around 9 million rupiah per hectare per year, followed by banana. Corn actually has a low benefit for intercropping. Next. As it was mentioned before, that there is a concern, especially from the private company, that intercropping will have negative impact on oil palm productivity. Here we saw that our monitoring found that intercropping has no negative impact on oil palm productivity as a main crop. In our Living Lab, the intercropping in oil palm, it even increases oil palm yield. Next. Here are some key findings related to intercropping implementation in Sustain Palm project. Intercropping increases income, as we have already seen. Net income of watermelon greater than banana and then greater than corn. Income from corn and rice modest, therefore not attractive unless it is implemented in a wider area, hundreds of hectares, etc. Intercropping has also positive impact on land saving. Business models developed for smallholder and for companies for all crop in our living lab. Oil palm yield not compromised and even increased. Impact on soil chemical quality and biodiversity, as it is indicated in the Sustain Palm conceptual framework, is still now under investigation. Next. Besides intercropping findings, there are also some educational aspect of sustain palm in Work Package 1. Indonesian University, in this case, IPB, ULM, involve 11 Indonesian students in this activity. Wageningen University, 14 MSc students. One PhD also funded by LPDB Fellowship involved in this activity. Two PhD on Wageningen Sustainability Fund in Oil Clips program with UGM. Next, the last slide. To continue collaboration and knowledge sharing related to intercropping, Work Package 1 also has developed COP, Community of Practice. Thank you, and now I hand over to my colleagues, Prof. Ika Sumantri.
Yeah, good afternoon. I will continue the presentation from Pak Surya Tarigan. Please, my presentation slides. Yeah, in the work package 1, we have two activities. Firstly, that's already presented by Pak Surya about intercropping in oil farm field, and then I will continue with the livestock integration in oil farm field. Next slide, please. Livestock integration in oil palm plantation, or in Bahasa Indonesia, simply we call it as SISKA, is one of the objective in Sustain Palm program. And we organize to be, the firstly is to define many model or practice of SISKA in Indonesia. Then the second one, we assess the impact of SISKA to the system. Then we also disseminate the best practice of SISKA to the stakeholder and communities. And then finally, we want to build the business model of SISKA. Next slide. Yeah,
Siska practice and model depend on its objectives. It can be to transport fruit bunches, it can be to produce organic fertilizer for the oil palm tree or for the intercropping in oil palm field. It can be to use the oil palm byproducts. It can be from the undergrowth or from the milling of the oil palm bunch. And it can be for producing or get the additional income to the farmer or for the oil palm company. Next slide, please. Yeah, this slide show the example of models. There is a cattle to carry fruits one, for example, at PT Agrisinal in Bengkulu, and on the other side there is Siska that's objective to produce organic fertilizer, for example, in Riau, in South Kalimantan. Next slide. Yeah, the model of Siska can be also depend on the owner of the Siska itself. It can be a company that own the oil palm plantation, like a Siska company in PT Siska BKB in South Kalimantan, or a Siska that owned by the smallholder farmers or farmer groups that usually we call it as Siska Quintip, for example, in Riau and South Kalimantan. Next slide. The practice of Siska, management practice of Siska can be a rotational grazing or semi-intensive system like it PT BKB in South Kalimantan, or it can be also an intensive system of integration like in Riau. Next slide. And the integration of livestock not only talk about cattle, it can be also for goat, like in Bengkulu, or lamb in South Kalimantan, and even swine or pig in PT Agrisinal in Bengkulu. So many possibility to raise livestock, not only for cattle. Next slide, please. Yeah, we disseminate the Siska practice through many training. So we initiate a smallholder farmer training for Siska, and then we continue commercial cattle breeding training for the management level of Siska, and then finally we organize Siska business model training for the owner of Siska in South Kalimantan. Next slide. It is the picture of our training for smallholder farmer in Bengkulu, where they use the oil palm leaf and frond for feed that they fed it to the cattle and goat. Next slide. This is the small-scale commercial cattle business training that organized by University Gadjah Mada in collaboration with Red Meat Cattle Partnership. It is for the smallholder business of Siska. Next slide, please. Then this is the Siska business and management training for the owner of Siska. They can settle up the business of Siska in the company, for example, to copy the best practice like at PT BKB in South Kalimantan. So we send them to PT BKB to learn about it. Next slide, please. Yeah, to disseminate the best management practice of Siska, we organize some webinar series. Until now, we already have 8 webinar series on intercropping and also livestock integration. We also have some internship for the bachelor student. Like example here in PT CPKA, South Kalimantan. Next slide. Yeah, this area is very important because we involve many students from bachelor, master, and then PhD student to do the evaluation for Siska. So the Siska has a positive impact to the system. because it can enhance oil palm yield and quality. It can also improve the soil health and nutrient content in soil. It will support the diversity in oil palm plantation, and it is also the good practice of a circularity model because we can promote the resource reuse and also waste reduction from the oil farm business. And of course, finally, it will boost the economic benefits for the farmers and oil farm company. Next slide. This is the example of our activity. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the example our activity in evaluation. We do the continuous measurement for carrying capacity, undergrowth, biomass production, and even the impact of livestock to the soil quality. Next slide. Yeah, it promotes the security in the oil farm system because it's connect also to the intercropping activity. In our living lab, we use the manure of livestock to produce organic fertilizer that we applied in intercropping, and we also use the crop byproduct as a feed for the cattle. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, finally, it boosts the benefits of the farm because they can reduce the use of like herbicides and many labor costs to maintain the undergrowth under oil palm because it will do by the animal. Then it maybe reach almost 2 million rupiah per month per hectare. So it is a quite big number for an oil palm company. Yeah, next slide. So I think it is the final slide from work package 1. We will hand over to the next work packet 2, for Miss Yesi Widyasari. Please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pak Ika. Now it's my turn. Yeah, on behalf of working package 2. Yeah, so our working package 2 focusing on how we harnessing the oil palm byproducts for a sustainable bioeconomy. My name is Yesi Widyasari from Department of Physics, IPB University. Next, please. Yeah. Okay. Our goal is designing a sustainable circular economy. Yeah. And for this, we would like to use this R-ladder circularity strategies. Yeah. So if you can see the diagram on the right side, yeah, the R0 until R2 actually is the pre-considerations when we would like to use any kind of materials. And on the loop system, which is the R3 until R8, yeah, it is the main loop, yeah, considering the usage of the product and also the end life of the product. Yeah. If you can see that each R has each number, yeah, meaning that with the higher R numbers indicate the least preferable of the activity. So meaning that if you would like to choose whether we recycle or reuse the materials, yeah, of course, it the R-ladder circularity actions suggest that we prefer to reuse rather than recycle, considering that reusing materials need less energy compared to the recycling that materials. Now have a look on the bottom. Yeah, you can see that there is a landfill. It means that the landfill is the ultimate exit point. Yeah, and actually this is the least desired outcome. Yeah, and the scissors icon indicating that this is least preferable, meaning that in a circular economy, putting materials directly to the landfill is not desirable. Next, please. So now focusing on the oil palm. Yeah, this is the data from the European Palm Oil Alliance. Yeah, the graphic from the European Palm Oil Alliance. Yeah, indicating that the lifespan of the oil palm is for about 25 years. Yeah, meaning that what to do for the oil palm trunk or OPT. Yeah, after 25 years. Next, please. Yeah. So this is the current practice in Indonesia. The left pictures indicate the current practice by the small farmers. Yeah. So they just cut down the trees. Yeah. And then burn it. Yeah. While on the right side, this is the best practice from the big plantations at which they cut down the trees and then cut it into pieces and then composting. Both of them actually against the air ladder principle that we discussed previously. Next. For that, rather than putting the OPT directly into the landfill, we from the working package 2 would like to see if there is any possibility to valorize the OPT for the sugar productions and the creative products. Next. So this is our 4 activities regarding the OPT to sugar. Yeah. So firstly, we identifying the bottleneck for this activity. For this, we did a field visit to Pegajahan, yeah, at which we know that there has been existed the sugar productions out of the OPT, yeah, but it's still in a small scale one, yeah, and we try to communicate with them, identifying all aspects are related with the bottlenecks to commercializing the sugar from the OPT. And then from this knowledge, we try to disseminate the knowledge that we have obtained to the several areas in Indonesia. We made several platforms for the information, such as a video to be put in the website. You can check through our website, the sustainpalm.org, and we also make a nice printed materials that we use this kind of materials for business matching. Yeah, during the business matching, we are not only inviting the small scale and medium scale industries who work with sugar, but we also invite the company. Yeah, and then during this business matching, we ask them about their perspective on using the sugar out of the OPT. And then we are very much impressed by the positive feedback that we obtain. And next to it, knowing that the sugar production from the OPT has a business potential, we try to train several farmers as well. So, I mean, hoping that the activity to utilize the OPT as a sugar resources, not only focus on the Sumatra. For that, together with Pak Agung from ULM and team, we train farmers in the South Borneo on how to produce the sugar out of the OPT. Next, please. And for the utilizations for the OPT as the creative products, yeah, again, yeah, we start by identifying the bottleneck, yeah, and then for this we refer to the Wangbang. This is the company in Malaysia who have implemented OPT as the core materials for the door, yeah, and we did some workshop, yeah, focus group discussions, yeah, to identify the bottleneck for the commercialization of OPT as the core door materials. Yeah. And then we also do the showcasing in the Netherlands. Yeah. At that time, we communicate with the Furnilux. This is the sustainable based furniture company in Netherlands. Yeah, we asked them about their feedback regarding the use of furniture from the OPT. While from Indonesia, we have made a communication with the Putriwood Indonesia, who has showed his interest, yeah, to use the OPT as the building materials. Yeah. The next one is we would like to develop a business case. Yeah, this business case is very much important for Indonesia because nowadays there has no data indicating the existence of the OPT company in Indonesia. And for this, we did a visit to the Japan, a palm oil company. Interestingly, that there is no oil palm plantation in Japan, but palm oils manage to produce the materials, yeah, the bench and also the bridge out of the OPT. In that visitations, we discuss why did they very much interest on the OPT while they don't have oil plantations in Japan. And these visitations, we also manage to develop the business case. What do we have to do in Indonesia regarding the OPT for the building materials? And then we also manage to conduct the uh, uh, competitions for the students because we believe that talking about the sustainability, it means that we discuss about the future so that we give opportunity for the students, yeah, for their creative idea. And we are very happy knowing that 39 participants are joined. And out of them, we have selected 10 finalists. And then during the final stage, they are very much creative in performing their idea. The next slides will give you an overview of the 10 product designs by the students. Yeah, next please. And we are very happy to announce you the winning team. Yeah, so we have 3 winners. Yeah, here as you can see. Yeah, the first winner are from IPB, the second winner is from Malaysia, and the third winner is also from IPB. Next, please. Yeah. So with this, we would like to conclude my sessions. Yeah, indicating that our activity showing that it is suggested that we are not immediately composting the oil palm trunk. Yeah, but rather that our activity show that transforming the oil palm trunk into sugar and creative products effectively move the biomass up to the R leader. Yeah, so from the R6 to R7. Yeah. So this strategy can maximize the utility of the original resource, generate greater economic value, and significantly reduce the volume of material requiring lower tier recovery or disposal. And of course, still there is action required, meaning that the government, academic, business, and community must collaboratively establish a kind of biorefinery hubs and integrated value chains that incentivize the high value cascade processing of oil palm trunk or OPT, supported by targeted R&D investment and policy mandates that restrict low value dispose methods. With this, I thank you for your attention and I pass the session to my colleague, Pak Agung Nugroho from ULM.
Thank you, Ibu Yesi, for your nice presentation, reporting the harnessing, especially the OPT for more added value products. And in my turn, in addition of Ibu Yesi, I will report our program, especially on our effort to enhance the environmental and economic added value of oil palm meal residue, especially for POME, palm oil meal effluent, and also empty fruit bunch. Next slide, please. Thank you. In this slide, we'll inform you that Indonesia has very high oil palm production that grew exponentially from around 7 million ton in the 1990s to over more than 47.5 million ton CPO annually by 2024. And also the total area of palm oil cultivation increased from around 4 million hectares in the early of 2000s to over 16.8 million hectares in 2024. So on this area, more than larger than Java Islands. And our country account for over 55% of global palm oil supply in the world. Next slide. Yeah, from these facts, we know that in other side that oil palm industry will contribute to the economic, social, and also development contribution. But in other side also this industry will contribute to the environmental impacts. So in this figure, we can see that oil palm mill will produce many residues or waste. For example, the methane, CH4 emission. Other waste is biomass boiler, mesocrab fiber, and also palm kernel solid. And other waste is empty fruit bunch that we will talk this waste in this presentation. Next slide. Yeah. So how to overcome the waste or residue to be more product with higher added value? So the concept is how to bring the circularity concept to the sustainability concepts. So with this concept, we can obtain the economic value by utilize this waste or residue, and we will transfer to the economic value that benefit for planet, also the human, also to the capital of the industries. So we can combine this contribution into sustainability concept. Next slide. So in this our program, we analyze the current condition of business model in oil palm industry in Indonesia, and also we analyze the bottleneck, how to utilize the residue, and we also promote or suggest the best practice in some industry that already perform the best practice, and also we give some recommendation to the government using some policy briefs. Next slide. Yeah, in this figure, I will show to you that in Indonesia has very high potential of oil palm mill that currently Indonesia has more than 800 oil palm mills with a production capacity of biogas more than 80,000 cubic meter per hour. But unfortunately, that from this number, only 160 oil palm mill that have biogas plants with 155 megawatt production of electricity. So next slide, we have still many homework to overcome this problem, how to increase the number of biogas plant in Indonesia. So in this slide, I will show you some business model that already implemented in Indonesia to utilize the biogas for electricity. So the first model is a captive use or in-house consumption. In this model, biogas is produced and directly used to meet the internal energy demands of palm oil mills. So the electricity support the operations such as palm kernel oil or PKO, and also for sterilization and also for housing facilities. And the second one is independent power producer or IPP. In this model, private companies build and operate biogas power plants independently and sell the generated electricity to the national grid operator or PT PLN. Next slide. The third model is CNG conversion. This next slide. So in this CNG conversion model, palm oil mills located far from the electricity grid. Biogas can be upgraded into compressed natural gas or CNG through a purification and compression process. So the biogas CNG can be bottled and transported to use in industrial boiler, vehicles, or even sold to the third parties. And the fourth model is excess power to PLN. This hybrid model allows mills that primarily use biogas for their own energy needs to sell any excess electricity to PT PLN. And then the fifth model is community on practices. That this model or mini plan of a biogas plant we implemented in some village in South Kalimantan, that this village can obtain some benefit, renewable energy generation for biogas and also biofertilizer production, straw mushroom production, and also to convert EAP and POMI into valuable resources. Next slide. Next. Yeah. So in this program also we analyze the bottleneck why the implementation of biogas plant in Indonesia is still low. The first is underutilization of POME potential. Despite its high energy content, palm oil mill effluent is still largely untreated or processed through open anaerobic lagoon in Indonesia. And then the second is because of technology and infrastructure gaps. The adoption of biogas technology faces barrier related to cost, technical know-how, and infrastructure readiness. So many palm oil mills lack access to affordable, fit-for-purpose digester system and supporting facilities such as biogas upgrading and grid interconnections. And the third is about policy and regulatory barriers. Although Indonesia has committed to renewable energy and emission reduction targets, supporting policies for biogas remain fragmented, inconsistent regulation, complex permitting procedure, and also limited financial incentive create uncertainty for investors and industry player to invest under their asset in this industry. And then the fourth is about market accessibility and financing. Commercialization of biogas is constrained by market challenges, including unstable pricing mechanism for electricity or gas derived from POME, and also difficulties in securing long-term purchase agreement, especially to PLN. And then, the next slide. Yeah. So we also perform some promotion program. For example, we promote the best practice of PT GMK in South Kalimantan and also PT CPKA in South Kalimantan also. That PT GMK mill has a biogas plant that the POME methane is captured and used for electricity production for local use and also for powering the palm oil mill and also palm kernel oil. With this practice, this industry can save around 14 million rupiah per month to substitute the cost for fuel purchasing. And also in PT CPKA now recently installed a factory producing fiber pulp from EFB, empty food bonds that can be used to produce egg trays they have other potential application option. So these two very inspiring example of circular use of palm oil mill residue that should serve as example for other mills in Indonesia. Next slide. Also, we give some recommendation to the government. The first is how to create a supportive climate and policy for industry to engage in POME-based biogas utilization. And then the second is how to provide incentive and funding for parties involved in POME-based biogas utilization. And then create technology development programs for infrastructure and related technologies. And then support for standardization, certification, and promotion, and then promoting biogas product diversification, and also utilization of carbon trading. Next slide. So in terms of research, we also continue our effort to produce some technologies to give a more efficient technology to produce some products, for example, packaging material from oil palm meal residue. For example, in this figure, we produce a biodegradable form from empty fruit bunch. And then next, also we continue our study to produce some advanced technology to produce high quality of wood from oil palm trunk. Yes, thank you very much. This is our efforts, our program to enhance the economical value from the oil palm meal waste or residue to be more added value products. Thank you very much for the occasion and times. Now I turn the next presentation to Professor Wilarso.
Thank you, Pak Agung Nugroho. Good afternoon for all participants. I'm Sri Wilarso Budi from IPB University. I will present our living lab on carbon and biodiversity-rich oil palm landscape in peat areas. Lesson learned from Pencing Bekulo, Siak, Sumatra. Next, please. Next slide, please. This is our team member from IPB, and our team leader is Associate Professor Peter van der Meer from VHL University in Netherlands. Next slide, please. Our living lab objective, firstly, to establish a theoretical and practical framework for living lab. Secondly, to develop sustainable land use system and business model for peat areas. And the third is to improve biodiversity and carbon while reducing greenhouse gas emission in plantation landscape. Next, please. This map shows the location of our living lab in Pencing Bekulo village, Kandis district, Siak Regency, Riau province, Sumatra. We can reach the location about 2 hours from Pekanbaru, the capital of Riau province. Next slide, please. We have conducted a workshop and training on living lab in the Netherlands in September 23. Workshop and training participants came from VHL University, IPB University, Lambung Mangkurat University, and also National Research and Innovation Agencies. The research person was from VHL University and others. From the result of the workshop and training, we can learn that to form the successful of Living Lab commitment from all stakeholders is needed according to their respective role to achieve the goal that have been determined from the beginning of the project. We identify the demonstration plot location. As shown in this map, one location is in forest areas, and the second is outside of forest areas. Next slide, please. This photo shows the detailed condition of the two identified locations. The first location on the left side is a replanting oil palm area on community-owned land and managed by the Kandi Sejahtera Palm Oil Cooperative. The government of Indonesia provides subsidy for oil palm replanting, but the problem is that the farmer receives no income while waiting for the oil palm to produce fruit, which take approximately 3 years. One solution is to plant facilitating crop between the young oil palm through intercropping such as chili, watermelon, eggplant, spinach, and others. And the second location, a right photo, is an unproductive oil palm plantation that cannot be replanted because it was planted in forest area. The government does not allow the farmer to replant with oil palm. One solution offered by the Indonesian government is the Jangka Benah program, which aims to increase farmer income while enhancing biodiversity and carbon stock. Next slide, please. These are our stakeholders from different institutions and professions, such as the province government, district government, village government, private company, cooperative, Sawit Kandi Sejahtera, and also from NGO. In general, all stakeholders support our living lives in Pencing Bekulo village. Next, please. Next slide, please. We have conducted participatory training on intercropping for farmers in order to improve their knowledge and skill. We invite the research person from various professions to share their knowledge and experience of intercropping to the farmer. Next, please. Next slide. All training participants were very enthusiastic in the discussion and also proposed several models of intercropping and several commodities that were considered prospective for increasing their income as shown in this slide. Next. Next slide, please. Of 5 commodities proposed by the farmer during the training, we have tried to planting chili using an intercropping system with oil palm in the field. Previous slide, please. Previous slide, please. No. Previous. This is the government regulation related to Jangka Benah. The implementation of the Jangka Benah program we have discussed with farmers who grow oil palm in forest area. They propose several crops as shown in this slide, like the sweet orange, Coffea liberica, Dira costellosa, and also Alstonia pneumothera. Next slide, please. To improve farmer knowledge and skill, training on biodiversity and carbon stock has been conducted. They learn to identify plant species and measure carbon stock in the field. Next slide, please. We also conduct a study of biodiversity and carbon stock in 3 different ecosystems, and as shown in this table. The total number of species in PCR ecosystem are 70 species. Under oil palm are 13 species, and in degraded swamp forest are 25 species. Next slide, please. In this table, so index of diversity in different tree ecosystem based on the Shannon Weather Index. The index of diversity for understory is low to medium, and for seedling, sapling, pole, and tree in degraded swamp forest ecosystem is low to medium. Next. In this slide, demonstrate that the highest carbon stock was found in Janggabenas area, followed by degraded swamp forest ecosystem and PSR area. This data showed the contribution of oil palm on carbon stock. Next slide, please. Next slide. To improve the biodiversity and carbon stock in oil palm plantation, we developed demonstration plot by using Cave Librica as shown in this slide. As our reflection, the farmer group are willing to adopt new cultivation practice if they are economically profitable and need examples through the development of a demonstration plot. This is a reflection already read in the policy brief. Next slide. As follow-up of our living lab, we are preparing a new proposal to be submitted to the financial agencies in order to ensure the sustainability of the living lab. Next. Thank you. And for the next speaker, Prof. Yudi from Lambung Mangkurat University will deliver their living lab in South Kalimantan. Please, Prof. Yudi.
For this opportunity, I would like to speak about the carbon and biodiversity these oil palm plants in the pit areas. Next slide, please. So this is my team, me and also three lecturer from our university, Lambung Mangkurat University, and also our partner from PHL, Associate Professor Peter Pandemir. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. I would like to concern with the smallholder because the 41% of the land are owned by people. This means that the land, most of 41% is occupied by smallholder. So for the living lab, we have two living labs. One in Batola Regency in South Kalimantan. This is the area is the tidal land, and also the second is in Simpang Empat district, Banjar Regency. This is the swampy land. We call also Lebak land. So the typical smallholder farm oil in the pit swamp areas. Normally, the lot areas of the palm oil is 2 until 10 hectares for each farmer. And normally, they are more independent in managing the land. And the management of land, oil plant, is carried out intensively because it is the source of the livelihood of the local community. And also, several farmers have applied intercropping until 4 years. Okay, next slide, please. The main activity of our our package 3. First is establish an theoretical and practical framework for living lab. The second, establish solution for alternative land use and business model for fit area and surrounding. And the third is improving biodiversity and carbon while reducing greenhouse gas emission in plantation landscape. Next, please. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the list of activity. The first is we implemented, we follow workshop and training on living lab at the PHL Netherlands to align understanding and learn from successful living labs in Netherlands. And the activity 2 about the biodiversity and also carbon. We hold the FPD of the intercropping system and planting of body plants in plant oil areas, testing of the crop, and also planting of body plants. And the activity 3 is about the business development in the feed areas. We hold the training of the use of the potential plants to increase the farmer income and also welfare, such as kind of the species like klakai, purun, vegetables, and also fruit. And also we try to cultivate woody plants to increase the biodiversity in this area. And the activity 4 is about water management. Water management workshop is very important to prevent the problem with the local community about the flooding and also forest fire, and also to increase the activities and also the income from the local community. So the activities 5 about research. For the research, we involve the student from PHL to first and also 6 students from ULM. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the land cover of the area. It is one of our living lab. About 100 until 125 tons per hectare. This is covered by Gelam wood, yeah, Gelam forest. This is the area near our living lab. And also about 50 until 75 ton per hectare. This is covered by palm oil. About the spacing, we have already tried to analyze this. The spacing of the palm between palm oil is better 12 until 18 meter by 10 meter. This is very suitable if you want to cultivate also some kind of agriculture plants to increase the biodiversity and also the income for the local community. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh yeah, this is the intercropping oil farm mix system. This is I try to analyze it about the 7 combination of the mix system. In the baseline, this is monoculture system. They cultivate only palm oil. Is one that the type of these tend to have less biodiversity and also vegetation layer. So the peat oxidation and decomposition process can be more massive, and the resulting CO2 emission are higher. So if we combine with other frames, we call that polyculture system, which combine oil palm with other crops, can maintain and enhance the biodiversity and also carbon sequestration. For example, we can combine with oil palm with orange, oil palm with vegetable, oil palm with pakai, oil palm with purun. Yeah, this is the carbon emission is quite low and also increase the carbon uptake. It's better if we cultivate the combination between palm oil and also multi-purpose species. Yeah, the carbon emission is very low, carbon uptake is very high, the biodiversity is also high, and they can also get income from them. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. This is the business development in the pit areas. We hold training on the utilization of the potential plants found around the palm oil plantation. Like I mentioned it before, that pakai, for example, purun, and also the leaf of the plant can be used also for making eco-print batik. And also we make a training also for making frozen food. Yeah. So for this activity, we collaborate with other stakeholder. Yeah, like government, a local government, company also, like Hasbro Center, because they need also the incubator, yeah, for increase the marketing. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is for example our product from the Klaten. How can we develop the product? The first is we make a socialization training for the local community. We must make the training more intensive, yeah? And also we make also manufacturing competition because we must increase the motivation of the local community to make the product. Yeah, and after that we join also with the PT Hasmo Center. This is for business incubator, yeah, to increase uh, the market. Okay, next please. Yeah, this is the supply chain of Klaten cookies. You know that the price of the raw material is very low, yeah, because very available in this area, and we try to process in the village, in the home industry, and after that they can and the price is in the market is increased, yeah, 30,000 rupees per pack. It means that they can get the benefit 1,000, sorry, 10,000 rupees per pack. It means that they can get more income from the raw material in this area. Okay, next please. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the sustainable business model campus. We have four kind of business model, but this one of them. The important thing I would like to stress with the market access. The problem of the to the market is because the area uh, is in the remote area. We live there so far from the regency. Is they have a problem for the market access. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, next slide, please. This is the conclusion. So, for the conclusion about the output, we established two living labs in South Kalimantan, and we try also to identification of the four potential stakeholder, identification of native species and 10 crops potential to get in for increase the income from the farmers. And also planting of the 6 species of the woody plants between palm oil, and also value chain activity model development for 3 native species, and also water management system for wet and feed areas. So we involve also students for for the research, yeah, to develop the program. And the impact is the collaborative fruit of the feedland development and feed swamp forest recovery, increasing of the valuable lands, support the sustainable livelihood community, reduce greenhouse gas emission, and also improve the biodiversity, and involving students for data collection in the field. I think it's my presentation is all. I will be back to Pak Iskandar.
Yeah, thank you all the speaker for presenting the your work according to the each work package. I will check from the chat book. There is so far there is no Q&A in the chat box. Please, participant, if you have an urgent or something to be clarified from the presentation, please put your question in the chat box. Yeah, so far there is no question, and I would like to little bit wrap up before we close the session. So from the Living Lab presented by the 3 work package, we could note some important aspect relating to the establishment of living labs. So the degree of the establishment is varying in terms of the maturity. Work package 1 has identified kind of model, yeah, where the private company or startup company already also involved. Work package 2 presented more advanced, discussing with the company how to scale the technology. And the work package 3 also identify very important model regarding how to conserve, how to preserve this carbon rich ecosystem. So there are at least 5 points in this living lab development. First is the building mindset. So palm oil can be optimized in terms of land, in terms of biomass it produce, as well as in terms of carbon conservation. The second one, working with the practitioners, in this case is farmers, startup company, and the established companies are very important. Third, involving many people in the living lab establishment also has been very crucial by discussing with especially stakeholders, not only at the village level, but also at the district level. Number 4 is scaling up or scaling, which are very important in order to bring more people to this initiative. There is one question in the chat box. I would like to please speaker can. There is one question from Professor Peter van der Meer. Thank you, Peter. So the question is, how was in general the experience with students in living labs? Were they helpful in reaching the outputs by bringing students to the living lab in the field? So I would like to address this maybe to Professor Wilarso and also Professor Yudi. How was your comment? Maybe Professor Wilarso first.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Pak Peter, for your question. We have to VSL student that involved in our living lab in Pencing Bekulo. They learn about how to manage the carbon. They participate also in the training of carbon stock and also the biodiversity. I think this is very, very important for the student involved in the our living lab. Thank you.
Thank you. Any short comment from Professor Yudi?
Okay, we have the two students from VSL. They make research about gelam wood and also furun and klakai. And also our student, 6 students from our university, they research about also with the some of the carbon stock and also about the furun and also klakai. Yeah, this is very important species in this area, especially in the sweet in the swamp, pit swamp area, and the research is very important, especially for example for gelam wood. Until now, we don't have the good management for how to manage the gelam wood, and result of research is very important. How can we make a good management system for the gelam wood? This is for sustainability of gelam, and also the research from the student from VSL about the furun. Yeah, how can we utilize the furun, and also how can we to make good marketing, yeah, for furun and also klakai. I think the research from the student is very important, yeah, for the future. How can we manage especially the native species in the pit swamp area? Thank you.
Thank you. So the student, I think, clearly contribute to the establishment of the living lab by enriching the knowledge product. I have two questions. Yeah, so directed first to the working package 1 and first to the working package 1, Pak Surya and Pak Ika. Yeah, for your case with the Siska, and then with the especially watermelon, yeah, intercropping, yeah, as well as other maybe banana. How we can bring more people? So I noted that the number 5 is bring more people to understand, to take up the knowledge, yeah, from the best practice or good practice as well as lesson learned, yeah, that farmers in Bengkulu doing this with the watermelon. So because I saw also in Riau, yeah, maybe in other parts also, yeah, and Siska as well. Has been a lot of discussion on Siska. Please, Pak Surya first, very short comment.
Thank you, Pak Iskandar. As we already seen from the presentation that a living lab for intercropping in Bengkulu with banana and watermelon have shown a very good result, and the indicators of sustained farm was achieved, especially in increasing income, for participating farmer. Some of the farmer actually landless, and then because of this intercropping opportunity, the land is provided by oil palm plantation, and the farmer participating so they can benefit. And how we can, the result is very positive, and now how we can upscale, to the broader community. So in WP1, I think one way, one mechanism that it is used to promote the positive impacts with this community of practice. We develop community of practice. We hope that the community of practice doesn't stop after Sustain Palm project ended this year, but it should continue. To promote the positive aspect found in the living lab.
Thank you, Professor Surya.
Yeah.
So, and Prof. Ika, very short.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Iskandar. For smallholder farmer, it is easy to invite them to apply SISCA because many interest from them to adopt SISCA. But the problem usually coming from the big oil farm company. So in this case, we always disseminate result from SISCA, the benefit of SISCA. Then the second one, Pak Iskandar, is important for the government to give advantage to oil farm company that want or adopt SISCA. So some advantage or positive regulation from government to the oil palm company may support the SISCA in big oil palm company.
Okay, thank you. So unfortunately, Bu Yesi and Pak Agung, the time is up. So I would like to again, in the beginning, I already wrap up about this living lab development. Of course, some recommendation for the follow up of this program. I think the program has been very successful, and in terms of knowledge pool of different kind of aspect in towards the sustain palm. Again, thank you for all speakers who have prepared the material. Thank you our partners from Netherlands as well, from Wageningen and Van Hal-Larenstein University, Pak Dr. Martin, Professor Peter van der Meer, and others. Thank you all participants. So I would like to officially close this session. Again, thank you the state manager. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bye. See you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Ika. Thank you all. So let's continue the work.
Prof. Is.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.